Like, I don't. Okay, let's see, share. All right, so let's see, guys. I have been having technical difficulties, so hopefully people will log into this link here that I am at. So I'm just going to wait a minute to see. Hopefully this works. I don't understand technology right now. So I'm just going to edit this here. I'm just going to wait for some people to show up. I'm trying to be cool and prepare and be professional and have it done ahead of time. And it's just like, nope. I've been getting fucking lemons for months. Okay, so hopefully, so I can choose to go live in the moment, but I can't do it when I like plan to do it. So hopefully I can figure that out for the next video. Let's see. And it's not picking up my camera. Let's see. Got my camera. Really? I might just have to cancel this. I might just have to cancel this. I might just have to cancel. I might just have to cancel. I might just have to cancel. Thanks for being patient. Like, I am not feeling this technology right now. I don't know what the fuck is happening. But anyways, oh, there's 3 people here. Cool. All right. So hopefully people catch on to this new link because I put it on the other video. So I'm hoping that works. And let me just make sure. So thank you so much for your patience. Let's see. All right. So whatever it is, what it is, who's ever in this is meant to be here. And then I'm just going to upload it. So I am going to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius today or tonight. And the actual new moon where it was basically, the sun and the moon were in the same position at the same degree in Capricorn that happened around like 6:30 Mountain Time. So that was a couple hours ago, almost 2 hours ago. And also tonight at 4:44, which is cool, 4:44 a.m. Mountain Time, there's going to be a partial solar eclipse, which is going to be pretty potent. So I wish that maybe I'll set an alarm and do a ritual at that time, but we'll see. And so the sun and the moon, as we know, are both in Capricorn, along with 5 other, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So along with 4 other like celestial objects. So what we call that is a stellium in Capricorn, which is like, there's a huge focus on Capricorn right now. which is kind of cool because it makes sense. Like we're at the beginning of the year, everyone like has their intentions that we're setting forth. Also, we are just really like in that like fuck 2018. At least I am. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so over the past year, even though it was really, really hard, but it was definitely like super transformative for me. And so now I'm just like ready to work. Like I'm, you know, we had all of those retrograde planets and stuff happening last year, which was like so intense. So one of the things about Capricorn that I wanted to bring attention to is that Capricorn is, you know, first of all, it's a passive sign, which is like feminine, but I like to like disassociate from the gender aspect and more so just focus on like how the energy is expressed. So it's very passive. So that means it's coming back in, like the energy is returning to the center instead of like leaving the center, which would be like the masculine or active signs. Or you can look at it as like yin and yang. So Capricorn's a yin sign. It's also cardinal, which means that it is an initiating energy. So what you get with cardinal signs, which the cardinal signs will be Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, and Aries. It's almost like this energy, or like right around before you get to these signs, like you have this moment where it's like you're taking like, it's like 2 steps forward, it's 1 step back. So there's always some kind of like friction that you experience, which is like kind of what gets you moving, which is going to be, you know, that cardinal energy, or Capricorn, Aries, Libra, and Cancer. And so with Capricorn, also it's Earth. So that means there's that physical aspect of it. It's like the tangible, like nature, like things that you can actually like, handle, or like it's what you create and it's what's like in front of you. And if you think about Capricorn too, it rules the 10th house. And so Capricorn, is like, it's the top of the chart. So it is that physical manifestation, it's achievement, it's purpose. And so with Capricorn, and please, if you're watching this, there's 2 people watching this, yay. Please ask me any questions, and I want this to be like an open conversation. So at some point, if something comes through, I'm going to try to multitask and answer any questions that come up. But so with Capricorn, the whole intent, and I have my notes here, so that's probably what you'll see me looking at, is going to be like how you're going to establish and integrate your sense of purpose and authenticity and basically mastery within the context of the society you live in. So wherever Capricorn is in your chart, you know, say if you're a Capricorn sun, then it's like, this is how you are going to go about like doing your purpose, like go about aligning with your purpose, how you're going to basically be that one, that master of whatever craft or whatever art you have. Right. So, that's going to be really important when you look at your own chart, like whatever is going on in the 10th house, wherever Capricorn is and wherever Saturn is, that is where your, how you're going to manifest your purpose, like how that is going to be expressed in like your community and like overall. And also another thing with Capricorn is going to be conditioning. So on a like bigger scale, Capricorn is like represents our conditioning from like this lifetime. You know, it could be from your childhood and also from past lives. So that's another thing when you're looking at Capricorn in your chart, you're gonna see whatever house it's in and wherever Saturn is. That's going to give you some ideas of how you have, or whatever conditioning you've experienced like in the past. And so right now the South Node is in Capricorn. And so that's going to be, so our nodes have switched from Leo to Aquarius. So now the nodes are in Capricorn and Cancer, and they're going to be in Capricorn and Cancer till like pretty much like the end of 2020 or actually probably mid 2020 for like about a year and a half. And so our souls collectively are in this point where we're emotionally, a lot of our emotions and conditionings of the past are coming up to the surface in order for us to like, you know, obviously release them and, you know, integrate whatever can serve us, whatever is align with our purpose. And this is why I said it's really important to even know where Capricorn is in your chart, because that does give you an idea of like what your purpose is and how to go about executing that, and like where you fit in society. But also it's your conditioning, like I said. So then you'll like get some ideas of how to work with conditionings of the past, or whatever's coming up that needs to be, released. You can get some idea of where that's coming from when you look at Capricorn in your chart. And so also with Capricorn, you have self-determination. You also have mortality is a thing. So with Capricorn, that's the idea of, time and space. This is it's like the manifestation. It's the top of the chart. And so it's like, even with Saturn, its ruler, it's like the timekeeper, the time master. And so this is when you think about Capricorn in your chart, it is connected to mortality, like really understanding that, oh, like there is time and I'm going to die, or like I have to do this thing at this amount of time. And that's where you get with Capricorn, like that very, rigid method, almost kind of like Virgo, but yeah, a little bit more like kind of like Virgo, but not as like small details. It's more of like just like the step by step process, because we know that, there's a time. And as far as like, Capricorn's like things done like really well, like they like, things execute in a certain way. And so that's where the step by step process comes from. And it's more so with time. And so that's one big thing to think about with Capricorn. And so I'm going to look at the chart for the new moon. And if you guys want to look at it with me, I pulled up a chart for January 5th, 2019. Can't believe we're already in 20. I don't even, you know what, like I'm really excited about 2019, but I don't really even like the number 2019. I think it's 19 just throws me off, which is really weird. So I have it for January 5th, 2019, 6:29 p.m., Denver, Colorado. So you can definitely adjust that for whatever time zone you're in, whatever, city you're in, or whatever. Or if you want to look at the exact chart that I'm looking at, that would be awesome. Okay, so looking at this stellium here in the 6th house, we have Pluto, the moon, sun, Saturn, and the south node on the 6th house. So from evolutionary astrology perspective, the houses don't really, associate it with areas of life, even though it is an area of life. We just look at it as like the sign. The 6th sign in the zodiac would be Virgo. And so all of these elements here have this Virgo, Capricorn, essence to it. That's the energy there. And so Virgo's earth, Virgo's passive, and it's mutable. So there's this flexibility within Virgo. And one of the things I was talking about, I think in my last Cosmic Climate video was routine and patterns and habits. And I feel with a lot of people, what I've been seeing is that we've been wanting to just like break free of what we've been doing for a long time, especially whatever we were doing from 2018. It's like taking that and being able to really transform that or metamorphose that into something completely different or build off that. And so, but in order to, really take something and transform it into something else, we have to step out of our comfort zones. We have to change up our routines, like look at what's serving, what's not serving, especially if you're holding on to old habits or emotions or things of that nature that aren't serving and they're just there, but like you're too afraid to let it go, then like it's going to be even harder to really get things in, like to be able to receive. Or even if it's like information, even if you don't know what you're doing, or that you want to do something differently, but you're unsure, you're not hearing the call, or you hear the call, but you're not really clear about where to go or what move to make, then just start by releasing things, or changing up the way you do things. Like, you go to work one way all the time, but then now try and going to work like a different way. Or, like you usually get up and meditate like in the morning. Well, how about you meditate at night and then do something else in the morning, or like read or listen to an audiobook or something like that. So, that's just a few things that you can do to like just really spark that motivation and creativity if you're not feeling connected to it. Another thing here, let's see, within this chart. So, okay, obviously it's the new moon. So let's go ahead and talk about the new moon. New moon, which is really, at this point, is a dark moon because the sun and the moon are at 15 degrees. They're both at 15 degrees. So they're in essentially exact alignment when it comes to the distance of degrees. And they're really, really close to being in exact alignment because there's, a partial solar eclipse. And so this doesn't happen every new moon because of the moon's orbit isn't completely circular. And but right now it's close enough where it can really project a shadow onto Earth, like, a dark enough shadow onto Earth. And so I would say, from now, from when this, or 2 hours ago when this new moon actually started, up until probably like a little after, the peak of the partial solar eclipse, which is going to be 4:44 a.m. Mountain Time. This is like very potent for like dark moon energy. Like, so if you want to do a ritual with any dark moon stuff, if you want to like do like an astral travel going into like the void or anything like that, this would be a potent time. This would be a potent time to like really penetrate whatever is going on, like deep within, and whatever is going on, within the subconscious. And so with the moon, this is interesting having the moon in Capricorn because the moon is ruled by, or rules Cancer, which is the opposite of Capricorn. And so we have the nodes also, like I was saying, the nodes, the south node's in Capricorn, which the south node is, our emotional, where we're coming from emotionally from the past, where our soul's evolving from. And then the north node is in Cancer, which is where our soul is evolving towards. And so it's interesting that the moon is in Capricorn, which is the opposite. And so the moon is going to be obviously our emotional experiences from the past, like any emotional baggage we brought from the past. It's also our self-image emotionally. So this is a very subjective perspective, like from emotions. It's like what you're feeling within, but it's very, very personal. But also it's like how you emotionally deal with or change. And so with that in mind, having it in Capricorn, it's like all of these things that we've suppressed, all of these, Capricorn is also, it's associated with suppression and repression. And so any memories that we have from the past, that we don't deal with and we bottled it up, this is like where it is it's this Capricornian energy, the Saturn energy. It's like the suppression, because like you build these walls and boundaries to stay within a comfort zone. Capricorn likes, their routine, they're like their comfort zone. And so on a bigger scale, that's how you get laws. And when you think about Capricorn, we're building these structures, we're creating these laws in order to have this comfort zone, and on a bigger scale, it's for society. And, this is a comfort zone. We're asking to conform to like whose comfort zone, who voted for this, who bought into this, right? Which is where we are now. We're like, this isn't comfortable. Like this only works for like 1% to 2% of the population in the country versus like the rest. And so that's where you get that from. And so even having the North Node in Capricorn, this is really bringing up all of this suppressed emotions that we have from the past in this lifetime and past lifetimes. And so how are we dealing with this change emotionally is what's going on right now with this new moon in Capricorn. It's like, how flexible are we within our emotions? Because it is in the 6th house. So then there's that Virgo essence to it, where it's like your routine, your daily habits, also how you serve others. Because with the moon, it is about nurturing others. It's about nurturing yourself and nurturing your others. And then having the North Node in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. North Node in Cancer is going to, it's like encouraging us or enabling us to evolve towards bringing that outer security back within. So it's really realizing that our security really lies within and how we value ourselves, what we need to feel safe and secure in order to really start to evolve and start to align with our purpose, because that is Capricorn. And so if there's anyone new on here, I just want to share with you guys that I wanted to keep this an open dialogue. I don't want to just be talking at you guys. So please feel free to ask me questions about anything that I'm saying, or just any astrology questions, right? Okay. And so talking about the moon again. So yeah, it's all about how do you deal with things emotionally. And with it being in the sixth house, which has this Virgo essence to it, there is going to be this self-analysis, also anything, associated with not feeling good enough. Like, this isn't good enough. Like, I'm not good enough. This project's not good enough. My work's not good enough. I'm not motivated. Like, all of these like critical thoughts, that's going to come up too during this time. But this is a very unique time because I feel like everyone's super motivated for the most part. And so I feel, at least in my community, I feel there's a lot of positivity around. And so that's really amazing. So just talking about the South and the North nodes, the South node in Cancer, the North node, or the South node, sorry, in Capricorn, and the North node in Cancer. This is going to be happening for about 18 months, where we're going to be focusing on emotional reflection, emotions from the past. Where are these coming from? Also, interesting enough, there are going to be a lot happening, a lot of discussion, a lot of things coming up around gender roles, gender identity, things of that nature, or I guess gender assignment, really. And so because you have with Cancer, Capricorn, it's really a representation of the inner female and the inner masculine, which we all have both. So it's like within we have both, genders, or, the way energy is expressed. And so with that in mind, you have it's going to be whichever one is been suppressed within. So say if you've been suppressing, the feminine part of yourself, which is like the emotions and going within and the intuition, that's going to be something that's going to need a lot of attention during this time. That's going to be something that's coming up to work with. And on the flip side, if it's masculine, then you're going to be dealing with like speaking up for yourself or taking action, or the fighter spirit. I'm just throwing out random stuff that's coming up. Like, that could be totally stereotypical, but it's just like, okay, so with masculine, it's active, it's energy going out. And so it's like, are you making the right moves? Like, what actions can you do differently at this time? Like, or what actions have you done in the past that have been holding you back? So that's going to be something that comes up during this time. And so just want to check, make sure there are no questions. Cool. And so also having the sun in Capricorn, if you have gotten a reading with me before, the way I look at the sun sign is that the sun sign is the heart. I mean, it's the ruler of Leo, and Leo is associated with the heart. And so it's that heart chakra, it's that heart center. And when you think about the sun, it gives life to everything here on earth. And so with the sun sign, it's like all of these energies come together, and like basically they come to the center and they filter out through the sun sign. And so at this moment with Capricorn, like having the sun in Capricorn, and if you have your sun sign in Capricorn, then you're really bringing forth all of these energies, everything from the past, how you do things, how you attract people, what you value, what you need to feel safe and secure. It's all coming through a Capricorn filter, which is going to be, self-determination, self-responsibility. Am I just talking, or am I actually doing the things that I said I wanted to do? What are my goals? What do am I really happy in this job or this relationship, or do I need to make other moves to move forward? Like it's having that accountability within yourself and really understanding, what boundaries you've created, whether they're serving you or not. And if they're not serving you, then release. And so having the new moon with the sun in this, in the same location, this is awesome because it's like, especially it being a new moon, you can really, utilize your intuition and your instincts to really sit with and try to understand what's going on here, what you actually want, in the future. What goals do you have? Like what's realistic, what's not, and like what small goals can you make towards, that bigger goal? And that's what I always, share with people when I talk about manifestation and intention setting. It's like, okay, what do you want? What's the end result? But then what small actions can you make to get to that point, to get to that end result? What small goals will lead you to that end result? And so that's perfect with having that sun in Capricorn too, because that gives you like that, it's like everything comes full circle to align you with like self accountability. Like, are you really doing what you said you wanted to do? Which is perfect that Capricorn lines up with the first of the year, because it's like everyone's in that, it's interesting that everyone's always like, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to cut back on this thing. I'm going to exercise more and I'm going to eat healthy. Like, that's not a coincidence, at least not from my perspective. And so we also have Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto's going to be in Capricorn, I think, until 2020 as well, which is like what I said with the nodes. The lunar nodes are going to be in Capricorn and Cancer until 2020. And so Pluto is, when I look at someone's birth chart, Pluto is the soul. Like it's that immutable consciousness. It cannot be destroyed. It just changes form, which is like true Scorpio nature. It's the ruler of Scorpio. So it's like, it's analogous to water. Consciousness is analogous to water because it's like, it's formless. Like it essentially has no form, but when you contain it, then it takes form of whatever the container is. So when you think about the consciousness, when you put that into the form, like a human form, like a rock or an animal, like it's gonna take on that energy of whatever container it's in, if that makes sense. And so wherever Pluto is in your chart, which a lot of the people that I connect with, is going to be Pluto and Scorpio. I'm Pluto and Scorpio. And so our soul is coming from, generationally, Pluto and Scorpio. And the way you look at that or try to understand that for yourself individually is going to be looking at the house. And so Pluto is in Capricorn right now. So if you look at that from like a very, like a bigger perspective, or like as a group, having the Pluto and Capricorn, what we're dealing with now is coming from a place of like suppressed emotions, suppressed gender things happening. Sorry, my cat just like wants to be in my lap. No, whenever I'm on here, it wants to be in my lap. Okay, so we're getting, we're coming from gender roles, any things dealing with gender that have been suppressed, anything with purpose, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, that's, the way society is. Capricorn's also associated with the authority or disciplinarian energy. So it's like, people telling us what to do. And as far as like Pluto and Scorpio generation, from what I know, we're just like, fuck that. Age of Aquarius is upon us. So we're like, no. And that's where we are now. It's like, we're at the end of Pluto and Capricorn. And so whenever a planet transits a sign, the way I look at that is that like, as the planet is entering that sign, right, at the beginning of that cycle, you start to feel that change in energy. I feel like that's when it's the hardest. That's when it's the most intense, because you've been spending all this time, especially with Pluto, all this time with this energy of this one thing, and then you're shifting to a different thing. So it's that shift, especially from sign to sign. So previously Pluto was in Sagittarius and that was yang energy, active. Then you have that switch from yang to yin, which is going to be all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're projecting. And then, we got to like take in everything that we just did, like everything we just projected. Then we get that reaction from our external world. And it's like, we have to bring everything within and internalize that and integrate that into our own, our own self. And so we shift from the active to the passive, which is where we are. Well, where we are now is we're at the end of Capricorn. We're like really starting to wrap things up. And so Pluto, metamorphosis, allocating, like transforming power dynamics is a thing. So within authority, this is when you think about where we are now, especially when you look at like the elections and stuff like that, what's happened politically, like we are rechanging, or, reallocating, power. and what that really means. And also with gender, like what that even means, gender identity. Does it even mean anything? Is it even anything? You know, we're all, like, from my perspective, we're all one. So that's what I tend to bring everything together. Like, I want to bring everything together, and instead of separating and like making all these different like labels and categories and stuff like that. But that's where we are as far as this cycle in Pluto. So that's where we're coming from. And it's looking at whenever anything is suppressed, that's looking at, like, it's going to distort things, right? The natural flow of things. And so we're coming from this past of conditioning that we're working through, and we're moving forward towards Cancer. We're re-identifying or reconnecting with our own self-image and our own intuition and our own emotions, and how that affects us on a very, you know, day-to-day, very short-term cycle, because, you know, the moon rules Cancer, and so that's how that flows. So also, guys, definitely throw some questions at me, because I feel like I'm rambling. Should drink some water. And so then also with Saturn in Capricorn as well, Saturn's at like 11 degrees Capricorn, I believe, and I need to check this at some point, but I believe Saturn's in Capricorn until about 2020 as well. 2020 is going to be a crazy, powerful year, which is like crazy because it's less than a year away now. But so next year is going to be like, there's going to be some crazy shifts happening. And so with Saturn in its home, you know, in Capricorn, there's just this, it's just like intensifying everything. It's like, you know, it's like with Saturn and Capricorn, it just doubles up that energy of wherever it is. So having Saturn and Capricorn in the 6th house at this moment, it's going to once again bring forth things within our like daily lives. Like, what are we doing on a daily basis? Like, especially also with Virgo, there's that health and wellness aspect. So, you know, how are your eating habits? Are you exercising? Like, you know, even emotionally, how is your environment serving you emotionally? How are you serving? Are you giving too much energy away? Are you taking too much energy from others? Are you an energy vampire? So it's like all of these things are coming up. And, you know, Capricorn also has an element of maturation. So it's like, you know, there's a lesson here. So at this moment, we're learning about what's going on, you know, in our day-to-day lives, you know, and the houses, as far as like a sign being in a house, it changes every 2 hours. And so this is going to be different, you know, for a different day. But just looking at this new moon, this is very potent for, you know, just something for us to focus on, which is like our daily day-to-day life, our rituals, our habits. Also, you know, with Virgo is the thought patterns. So what are we, you know, where do we go as far as like when we're in that, when these emotions come up and these patterns, and really trying to understand like what's serving and what's not serving, like what's going on in your mind? Like, where does your mind go when you're in that tough spot? Where does your mind go when you're happy? Like, and then really understanding how your emotions are connected to the mind, and how your emotions really should be taking the lead, or more so your intuition. And the way I lead by intuition, at least as of lately, is like, does it feel good? Does it not feel good? And I try to like make moves based on that. So as far as like your rituals or your day-to-day things that you do, like what feels good, what doesn't feel good, start there and start to cut out the things that don't feel good and start to amplify the things that do. Let's see what else. Also, another big transit is going to be Uranus. Uranus last year in March, I believe, went into Taurus. And Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. It has a 7-year cycle. And so it was in Aries. It's in Aries at this moment. It's retrograde. It's the only retrograde object in the sky right now, celestial object in the sky right now. And this is actually really important to like take note of, because it is in the 10th house, which the 10th house is naturally ruled by Capricorn. And in evolutionary astrology, that's going to be Capricorn. And so Uranus is retrograde at the moment in Aries. And then I believe next week or like in a week and a half, it's going to be back in, it's going to be direct and then moving towards Taurus. And so, but it's really moving towards Taurus, and it's going to stay in Taurus for a little less than 7 years. Altogether, Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. And the last time Uranus was in Taurus was during the Great Depression. And so whenever Uranus is in whatever sign Uranus is in house, really, Uranus is the chakra to the system. It brings up that suppressed energy, the distortions of whatever's going on with that Capricorn energy. It brings those distortions and suppressed emotions to the surface. And if you're not working to deal with that, if you're not working to, integrate and release whatever needs to be released, then that's where the shock element comes from, because it's like, oh, you don't want to deal with this. Well, the universe is going to just, it does what it does to really like bring shit to the surface. And when you think about Uranus, that's going to be, what we need to feel safe and secure. Also sexuality, sexual instincts. And so you have that associated with the gender things going on. And so this is what I'm saying. Sexuality is going to be like a really hot topic for the next 7 years. And so Uranus moving into Taurus, there are a lot of things, a lot of emotions, a lot of insecurities associated with money, with, food, shelter, sexuality, even like sex, Taurus is more, I would say, kind of like self-sex in a way, because it's very, very personal. So it's like your values and desires when it comes to sex, from a very subjective point of view. And then the opposite sign of Taurus is Scorpio. So then that's when you have it comes to the sex with others. And so, I mean, both of those are going to be a hot topic, but it's more so, how do you feel sexually within your own body, within your own emotions, but then also, your sexual instincts. What do you need to feel sexy? What do you need from your partners? What do you need to feel safe and secure so that you can be sexual, or that you can survive? Because it comes down to your survival instincts. Aries is all about your just instincts in general, and then and it's instinctual emergence. And then once you get to Taurus, which is the second sign, that's going to be what you need to survive. And procreation, as far as the human species as animals, procreation is to keep the species alive, we have to make children, right? Make babies. And so that's where that comes in, and the fertility aspect, and fertility even of the land, and of, agriculture and things like that, and food. We need the crops to survive. We need the earth to be, taken care of. So that's also going to be another thing that's coming up as far as environmental issues. So yes, if you guys are just tuning in, please ask any questions. I think I'm getting to basically wrapping up most of what's happening at this moment with the new moon in Capricorn. But just talking about Uranus retrograde, that's definitely very, very important. And Uranus in general is going to be very, very important, especially for the next 2.5 to 3 years. This is when we're feeling that change from the yang energy, which is going to be Uranus and Aries, and then switching to yin, which is Taurus. It's oh shit, Aries is it's instinctual emergence. So Aries is just boom, in the moment. I'm doing this thing, I'm here, I'm now, your rising sign is the first house, right? Your ascendant. And so that's also Aries. Aries is the first house. So whatever your rising sign, mine is Scorpio. And so, by nature, I just instinctively do Scorpio things. In this chart, Leo is the rising sign. So what's going on right now is what I would say a big focus on instinctually is validation, but it's also your identity, your sense of self, which makes sense when we talk about, self-responsibility, self-image when it comes to the moon and Cancer. So that's the Leo rising is just emphasizing, us doing these instinctive things for ourselves. This should be a time where we're more so looking within and really trying to understand what makes us feel good, what inspires us individually to keep going forward with the goals that we set forth. And so having Leo on the ascendant, that's like the ascendant, like I said, it's naturally ruled by Aries. So if I was looking at someone's birth chart, I would say that, you know, your rising sign has a Leo Aries aspect to it. Like the way you do things instinctively is Leo Aries. And then as you go forth and you go, like I said, to Taurus, then that's like, okay, now I'm here, I'm in the moment. What do I need to feel safe and secure? What do I need to actually keep this momentum going? What do I need to sustain myself? And so with Uranus moving into Taurus, we're all collectively going to be dealing with a lot of things that we suppress that needs to be released. But also as we release these things, because Uranus is also associated with, like, I look at Uranus and I'm wherever Uranus is in your chart, I'm like, okay, this is where this person is connected to like divine energy. This is like where your channeling abilities are the strongest. So if you have strong Aquarius aspects, I would look at that as like, okay, you have like stronger abilities to channel in energy from like the universe, you know? And so as far as that comes into play with, like on a bigger scale with Uranus and Taurus, this is going to be, as we release and try to understand what is not serving us, we will be getting downloads coming through that will, you know, help us, you know, align with what does serve us when it comes to this particular area of life, which is going to be sustainability, sustainability of the planet. But it's more so we have to do the work of really letting things go and releasing things and not hiding away and not suppressing any emotions that are coming through. And so I'm feeling like that is pretty much like what I have to say about what's currently going on at the moment. Mercury is also in Capricorn. So, and it just entered Capricorn. It's at 1 degree of Capricorn. So yeah, I was saying there's a lot going on in Capricorn right now. And so Mercury in Capricorn is awesome. And I'm going to say that because my personal Mercury is in Capricorn, but this is a really good time to sit down and do the things that you've been putting off, make lists, especially with it, or I guess Mercury's not in the 6th house, but you know, everything else in Capricorn is in the 6th house. So this would be a good time to make lists of what it is that you want to do. Also, you can make lists of, you know, what's not serving you anymore, what you want to release and burn it, you know, maybe make the list now of what you want. And then once the moon is full and then begins to wane, make that list of, you know, what you don't want and then burn it. Also you can, let's see, Mercury and Capricorn. Also, when it comes to like bills and stuff, like if you're someone that doesn't really like to budget or, you know, doesn't, basically not hiding from what your resources are. So it could even be money or it could be work or anything, but whatever it is that you're hiding from, because like I said, Capricorn it can be associated with suppressed energy because you want to stay in that comfort zone. So you might want to stay in that comfort zone of ignorance. So it's like, yeah, I have these student loans and I haven't really like, whatever, I'm just going to write them off, or I've been deferring, or I have, you know, I have to talk to this person, or I have emails that I need to get to and I've like just been putting them off. This is the time to actually like write shit down, get it all on paper in front of you, because as you know, even writing it down is bringing it up and putting it out there because you're seeing it externally from you. And this is, you know, connects to the Uranus in the 10th house, because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, Aquarius is objectivity. So you're going to want to take that suppressed energy and bring it out into, you know, external from you. And so by even writing that, that's awesome too, because it's like being objective. Like you see it out on paper and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm looking at this thing. Or even if it's writing about your emotions, if you're feeling a certain way, you know, if you want to feel a certain way, just getting it out from within and putting it out here so you can be objective to it. And then you're releasing that in some way. So then as you release that, then you'll be able to take more energy in and more information in. And so I'm not seeing any questions. But I did have a couple questions come up in case these people do watch this video later. So one of the questions I had was about empty houses in your own birth chart. So if you are looking at your birth chart and you have empty houses, so looking at this chart, the first house, the second house are empty, and the 11th house. And so since we were talking about the first house, which is, you know, the cusp of the ascendant, which is Leo, the way I would look at that is I would just look at, so there's not a lot of emphasis on Aries, right? At least this first house of Aries. So I would look at Leo, but more so look at where the ruler of Leo is, which is going to be the sun. So the sun is in Capricorn. So the sun being in Capricorn, we can link that to Aries and Leo. So what that would tell me with the sun being in Capricorn, and I'm trying to understand like instinctual actions, you know, motivation, inspired action, new beginnings. I would say, okay, so the sun is in Capricorn. And so what's going on here with like new beginnings, because it's a new moon. Okay, so this is a new beginning of self-responsibility, or I am seeking instinctually inspired action to, you know, align with, you know, self-responsibility, or to really understand what kind of preconditioning I had from the past, what suppressed emotions have I had from the past, you know. And then, you know, when you bring in the Leo aspect of it too, and it's like, how is this affecting my identity? How is this affecting my sense of self? So that's how I would read that empty house. And then you can even go a layer deeper and look at Mars, because Mars is the ruler of Aries, which naturally rules the first house. So then I would look at Mars, which in this chart, Mars is in Aries. So that's, you know, doubling up that energy of instinctual nature, leadership, new beginnings, new beginnings. So yeah, new cycle of something. And so with that being in the 9th house, which is belief systems or Sagittarius, you can look at all the Sagittarian archetypes. And so I would say, okay, you know, this is also correlates to, you know, just taking the initiative to understand what are my belief systems? How am I acting out of beliefs that have been placed upon me? How can I change, you know, how can I integrate new belief systems or create new belief systems? Or how can I take the lead? Say if you already know and you feel a certain way about a belief, or, you know, just the way you understand the world around you, because that's Sagittarius is all about like, what is the meaning of life? And like, it's all about like, you know, it's also this very grand, universal, higher consciousness perspective. So it's like, oh, I had this new perspective on these things. So it's like, you know, how do I share this instinctually? You know, how do I do things to share this with other people, to take the lead on this, especially with it Leo ruling the first house. So then it's like, also really emphasizes leadership and being able, how do I step into the, you know, the center of everything and really get people's attention, and how do I inspire others? And so that's how I would look at that. So that was the empty houses thing. So if you have any empty houses in your chart, I would just look at where the ruler is of that sign. And then if it's whatever house that is, like I was saying, second house is empty in this chart as well. So then I would look at the natural ruler of the second house, which would be Taurus, because it's the second sign of the zodiac. And then I got a question about sidereal versus Western astrology. So the way I do Western astrology is, the way I do Western astrology, or the way I look at astrology, is from a Western perspective. So, and I believe it is valid, because Western astrology is basically seasonal. It's tropical astrology. So it's based on seasons. And sidereal astrology is based on the actual locations of the constellations. And both are valid in their own right. These are two different perspectives. You can look at both and compare both. And I feel that when you see an astrologer for that just happens to be a tropical, like work with tropical astrology, then that's relevant for that time. If you happen to like link up with an astrologer that you know, looks at it from the perspective of sidereal astrology, then it is also valid at that time too. And so you know, as most of us know, you know, things happen based on patterns. Like we live our life based on patterns, and the seasons definitely have a major impact on, you know, the energy of us as animals, as humans, you know. And so I feel that it is very relevant, you know, even though at this moment the sun is not actually in Capricorn. I would believe it be in Sagittarius, or it might be in Capricorn at this point because it's, anyways. But it's very potent at this time that like when Capricorn season hit, like we knew it hit, you know, like where we are now, everyone's like super motivated, and that's really important. But I think it's also with the sidereal, it's cool to take, it's almost like taking a step back. And I don't know much about sidereal. I haven't had any practice with Eastern astrology, but I think that's relevant too. So I think that we should all be open to, you know, different perspectives. And at some point I will jump down that hole of sidereal astrology, but I just like have so much, even with evolutionary astrology, that I'm good where I am right now. And so those were 2 questions that I got. And I think that I've been on here for almost an hour. So I'm going to wrap this up. But if you guys are interested in getting a reading with me, from now until Monday, I am going to do a 25% off for you guys. And the discount code is going to be Capricorn 444. So you just go to uraniauniverse.com, get any reading you want, and then enter that discount code, and you get 25% off. And I'm going to put that in the comments too, so you guys have that. And thank you so much for watching this. Thanks for being patient with me with the technological difficulties, and I will have that figured out for my next live stream, because I definitely want to do this more often. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.